Have you ever kept it for so long that you have almost forgotten it? So much that the pain that comes with the secret has faded. Well, that's me right now. I've kept a secret for over 15 years, and it's come to haunt me at the worst time possible. I thought I buried that part of my life, but I was oh so very wrong. See, my mom of all people in this person who has caused these feelings to resurface. I don't think that she understands what pain truly is. I mean, how can she dangle the possibility of me having a normal life in front of me after the bad setup she's done for me over the years? So, over the years, my mother's tried to set me up with different guys. I've told her that I don't want to date or marry. She's set me up with guys that have lots of issues. One of those guys that she set me up with wanted to move in with me after 2 weeks of getting to know each other. The other one seemed to have an obsession with his mother and brought her on dates. One of the other guys was quite obsessive with me and followed me everywhere that I went. She doesn't like the fact that I'm alone, therefore hands out my number to anyone that she thinks is nice. Unfortunately, she's not the best judge of character, and because of this, I've ended up with text messages from very weird dudes. She's at it again, and this time she feels that she has found the perfect guy for me. All of this started because of a simple conversation I had with her priest. See, he came to the jewelry shop where I work at. A conversation with him led him to wanting to set me up with his brother. I simply declined the offer. However, my mother already spoken to him and they decided that it's time for me to get married anyways. I know they mean well, but I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married or have a family. I just want to live a life of solitude. I fill my life with many hobbies and friends. You see, my life is so full that I don't need more. At least that's what I thought. When my old priest came into the jewelry shop I managed, I was shocked to see him. I asked what brought him to this part of town, and he tells me that it's business. He also told me he wanted to buy a gift for his wife and daughter. I knew that he had a daughter, see. My mother had mentioned that several times, and I've never met his daughter because I don't really go to church anymore. It has been about 15 years since I've entered the church. After what happened, I sort of withdrew myself from it all, as we were speaking about family. He asked me if I had one, and I told him my only family was my mom. He then mentioned that his brother was also single. See, I thanked him for his consideration, but told him that I'm content. His response was that maybe I didn't know what I truly yearned for. He tells me to forgive my soul for what happened, and he stated that God worked in mysterious ways. Maybe it happened for a reason, I don't know. I was young and not ready to be her mother. I thanked him for his kind words, and then he asked me when next I was visiting my mom. He suggested I join them for a service, and I told him that I would think about it, and then I packed the jewelry he bought. I complimented the silver necklace that he bought his daughter. I told him how I wished I could wear something like that, but I was allergic to silver. He left shortly after, and I did not think much of the exchange. Well, a few days later, my mother messages me. I was due for a visit, and she asked me if I would like to come for a church service. She said she knew that I was on the fence about my spirituality, but it would mean a lot to her. She also tells me that the priest's brother would be there. Well, I knew where this was heading. I told my mother that I was not ready to date again, and she tells me that it's been 15 years since I dated and I made a mistake, but I did not have to punish myself for it all my life. You must be wondering what happened these 15 years ago. I don't want to delve too much into it, so I'll give you the main points. 15 years ago, I had my first boyfriend. He had made me feel things that I never felt before. I felt heard, loved, and liked, like the only girl in the world. Because of this, I agreed to take our relationship to the next level before I was ready. It was just my bad luck that I fell pregnant shortly after. Well, my mother found out and she wanted me to get rid of the baby. She was scared about what people would think, as she's a church-going woman and she does not want people to view her as a failure. I didn't want to terminate my, so I loved my boyfriend. He told me that he would support me through everything, and he tells me that we could become our own little family even without my mother's support. I trusted him to take care of us, and the thought of not having my baby did not sit well with me. So I went against my mother's wishes and carried the pregnancy to full term. She eventually came around and supported me through the entire thing. A few days before I gave birth, my boyfriend skipped town. His entire family packed up everything and basically ran. I never heard from him again. When I found him on social media years later, he tells me some stupid excuse about how his parents thought that I baby-trapped him. They thought that I would ruin his future if he became a father, so they forced him to up and leave. It would have been nice if he had said goodbye at least, and after he left, I went into labor. Unfortunately for me, my daughter didn't make it. It hurt a lot. I was not the same person afterward. My life took more of a turn, and it's been the same ever since. I've just gone through the motions of life. I've complicated school and college and worked my way into becoming the manager of an affluent jewelry store. More so, I have a comfortable life. With time, I've stopped thinking about what I lost, and when I lost my daughter, I also lost the ability to have children. Doctors told me that my daughter's birth was such a difficult one that it affected my womb. See, I reminded my mother this, and, well, I told her that even if it were able to get along with the priest's brother and marry him, I wouldn't be able to give him children. My mother tells me that he was slightly older and had a child, and all he needed was a companion in this lifetime. She lectured me about how I needed happiness. She constantly reminded me that I deserve love. She tells me that I did not have to go through life alone, and I was just struck by something inside me. For a moment, I stopped and I thought about it, and I thought about the part of my life that was empty. Besides my mom, I don't really have anyone that I had close to my heart. I started to think about what if. What if I allowed myself to be happy again? I still don't know or think my daughter would forgive me wherever she is. These new feelings are conflicting. They keep me awake at night, and I want to give this man a chance. Maybe to get to know him and see where it goes, but I just feel like I'm betraying my daughter in doing so. What do you guys think? Should I give him a chance? Maybe I should just go to the church service and meet him. He can't be that bad. If he's related to the priest, then he must be a good man. The priest and his wife are good people, and during the period after I lost my child, they were very supportive. His wife would bring food for me and Mom, and my mom would not have time to cook because she had 2 jobs. I was left at home unable to even wake up. So, coming back to the situation at hand, my mother has pestered me about giving her one last chance. She truly believes that this guy would be good for me, but considering the past, I'm kinda skeptical, you know? Every time she's set me up with someone, it's been a disaster. However, I'm thinking of giving her one last chance. The fact that the priest can vouch for this man already makes a difference. He's quite an honorable, respectable man in the place of our city, and I'm not sure anyone related to him would be a good man. So, what do you guys think that I should do? Should I allow my mother to set me up one last time? Update number 1, 2 weeks later. It's been a very confusing few weeks, and there's something that's been nagging at me. You know, I can't stop thinking about it, and I feel I must take action. I think you guys might have had the best advice to give me, see? You guys also don't know me in real life, so I don't mind judgment. I went to the priest's house and met his brother. I found that we were very incompatible. He wanted a housewife and a mother for his kid, and I was not willing to leave my career for that. Besides, he wanted to get married too quickly, and I just told my mother, who was incredibly upset. She told me that she tried, but it was impossible to help me. She also tells me that I should be grateful that she's helping me since nobody wants to marry a woman who can't have kids. I ended up storming out of the priest's house because I was so upset. As I was leaving, I saw a girl sitting by the swing. She was crying, and I followed the sound, and I found her by the side of the house on a swing set. When I approached her and asked her if she was okay, she quickly wipes her tears and tells me that she's fine. So, I recognized her at the moment that she was the priest's daughter. She had been in front of the church during the service, but I had not paid much attention to her. She did not speak much and seemed polite enough. I did notice that she was not present for lunch. I asked her why she did not show up. She tells me that she was going to eat much later on because she was not very hungry. We sat in silence for a while, and I asked why she was crying. She tells me that she was not going to complain to me, and I was a stranger, and I did not have to worry about her. So I tell her that I was also feeling sad, and it's okay, and to feel sad sometimes. She smiled, and she actually thanked me. I then asked her if she would like her necklace her dad bought her. To my shock, she asked me what necklace I was speaking of. In fact, she was not allowed to wear jewelry. She tells me her dad never bought her jewelry, and she was quite certain that she was allergic to jewelry anyways. I asked how could she be certain. She informed me that she has an allergy to silver. Ever since then, she's always avoided most jewelry. That was a bit strange to me because I remembered that her father bought her a very silver necklace. Why did he not correct me when I gave him a silver necklace if it was for his daughter? Clearly, there was something that I was missing here. So, I just decided to delve deeper into the reason why she was crying in the first place. I guess one would call me nosy because I sat on the swing next to her and sat in silence. I told her that if she ever needed to vent, she could vent to me. I then confided in her about what happened that day with her uncle. She was around 14 or 15 years of age. She thought the whole situation to be absurd, and her validation helped to feel more confident in my choice not to accept the priest's brother. Well, she informed me that she was not surprised that her father had done this. She tells me that he thought he could control everybody's life, and I mean it. She also told me that I dodged a red flag. Her uncle was a control freak and had been through many girlfriends. So I just thanked her for letting me know, and she laughed. It was good to see a smile on her face. After a while, she tells me what was wrong and that her parents never allowed her to have a life. They did not allow her to have hobbies or friends, and they told her that she had to dedicate her life to the church. She didn't mind it, but, sometimes it takes a strain on her. She also told me about some of the unorthodox methods of punishing her if she did not do what they wanted. One of the ways they did that was depriving her of food. I was absolutely shocked. The priest acted like such a decent person when he was actually doing this to his own daughter. I was intrigued, so I asked her if they had ever laid hands on her, and she just tells me that they would never do that, but they did find ways to punish her. She tells me that she felt like a burden to the family sometimes. Everything she did always seemed to anger her parents, especially her father, see. That little girl reminded me so much of myself. It felt like I was talking to my own daughter, and of course there's no chance of that happening. Do you think that I should dig deeper into this? Could the child actually be suffering more than she's letting on? Let me know what I should do. Update number 2. It's been about 3 weeks since my argument with my mom. She's been giving me the silent treatment as always, and I decided to be the big person and apologize. So, I told her I appreciated the way that she tried to help me, but she had a very bad taste in men. Of course, she thought this was me taking a jab at her. After some haggling, she accepted my apology. In order to get back on her good side, I decided to visit her more often. I did some household duties and run errands with her. Since I was around more often than usual, I ran into Violetta. Violetta is the priest's daughter. Surprisingly, she was always running errands for her parents. Sometimes I got concerned because she was supposed to be doing homework instead of all the errands. Because of this, we spent quite a lot of time together. I felt a strange connection to her, and my mind started to run as some things happened that were too much of a coincidence. It was not just the fact that we were both allergic to silver. It was the fact that she had also had some characteristics that my ex had. I noticed that Violetta was born with a club foot. My own daughter was also born with one. That is something prevalent in my ex's family, and even he had it. In addition to that, she was extremely good at mental math. He used to run circles around us in school and the library, and with his ability, and also she had the same eyes as he did. The resemblance was uncanny. I mean, how could it have been that Violetta had so many similarities with me, my ex, and our unborn daughter? I realized that I was going crazy. I was grasping at straws and convincing myself that this was my daughter, and she was not. So I decided that I had to go and get records. I went to the hospital where I gave birth and asked her for the birth records. Tell me why those records did not record that my daughter was stillborn. Now that I remembered, I realized that my mother discharged me before the doctor said so. She was the one who told me what happened to my daughter and had me out of the hospital within a few hours. I never spoke to the doctors about what happened. In fact, I never saw my own child since I was too shattered by the news. There was no denying it, guys. Those recordings had showed that my child was not stillborn. My child was still alive, even though my mother tells me that my child passed. Even if Violetta was not my child, surely my daughter had to be out there. I wanted to confront my mother, but I had no proof. I realized that I would need to test her DNA. If she was my daughter, then I would never forgive my mom. I have a plan. I'm going to go visit the priest and his wife. I'll then steal some of Violetta's DNA. Afterwards, I'll test it, and no matter the outcome of the results, I'll still have to ask my mom for the truth. I want to know why the hospital has no recordings of my deceased daughter. Update number 3. Hey guys, it's me. I'm back for an update. So, it's been a week since my last update, and guess what? She is my daughter. Somehow I got tricked into believing that my daughter never survived. She'd been right under my nose for all these years. I felt this aching loss for a person who's still alive. How could fate be so cruel to me? I got the test results several days after I got her sample. It was actually quite easy, and I was able to send it to the lab to be tested. I was notified of the results shortly after. It was simple. She was my daughter. Somehow I had been lied to. I felt a lot of emotions ranging from shock to relief and sadness. How could a man of God and his wife steal a child? There was nothing crueler than that. That woman came to my house every day and fed me. She read Bible scriptures to help me deal with my grief when she had my child this whole time. That was the cruelest thing that she's ever done. She was the one I was angry with the most, therefore. She was the first one I went to with this information. I lured her away under false pretenses. After pretending that I needed help with something, I dropped the bomb on her. I told her that I knew everything. I just needed to know how everything had been done. I also wanted her to make things right, and she tells me that she had no idea what I was talking about. So I showed her the test results, She then told me that the deal was made. There was no way I could go back on it after all these years, and I asked her what she meant. She then told me that I knew about this. I was shocked because I didn't know about this. I told her my daughter passed away, and she then tells me she assumed my mom told me years later. I informed her that my mother told me absolutely nothing. The only thing my mother ever told me was that my daughter was stillborn. She then proceeded to tell me a crazy story. She informed me that she and her husband had been struggling to conceive for years. While I was pregnant, my mother approached them. She asked for money in return for my daughter. She tells them that she would convince me to give up the child, and they made a deal with my mother and exchanged my daughter for the money. That's when I absolutely lost it. I told her that I wanted my daughter back. I didn't care how she did it, but there was no way in hell my daughter was going to stay with them. Then this woman had the nerve to threaten me. She told me that she did not have the patience for me and that if I dared to try and take her child away from her, the law would not be on my side. So I told her that she had more things to worry about than the law. I then revealed to her that the reason I found my daughter was because her husband lied about getting a silver necklace. She asked me what that had to do with anything. So I asked her to show me the silver necklace that he got for her. Of course, she could not produce it. I then told her that usually when it happens, it's because the man's buying jewelry for another woman. I left her just to stew over it. Afterward, I decided to find my daughter and teach my mother a lesson. I'm still working on it, so I'll let you guys know what exactly happened. Update number 4. Hey guys, it's actually been 2 long months since my last update, and I'm here to let you know the developments of my story. In the animal kingdom, if you dare touch a mother's offspring, she'll make sure to make you pay. It's no different for my case. I made sure they felt the pain I felt over the years, and it's been 2 months since I found out the truth. After speaking to the priest's wife, I decided to find my daughter. I knew which school she went to, so the next day I waited for her after school. She remembered me from the day and on the swing set, but she was so surprised to see me. I wished that I could ease her into it, but time was of the essence. We went to a nearby cafe and I told her absolutely everything. She listened to everything I was saying with a neutral facial expression and no interruption. Her response absolutely surprised me. She informed me that she always had a feeling that she was not related to those two. She thought it was all in her head, so she never looked at it further. Now, she just needed time to process it, and it was too much for her. She was thankful that I told her the truth, but it was a lot to take in. I understood and was grateful for her maturity. When I got to my mother, she already knew that the truth had been revealed. She tried to apologize and tell me that she had a reason for what she did, and she claimed that she wanted to protect me so that I would have a good future. I informed her that it was not her choice to make, it was my life and my decision. I told her that I would never forgive her for this and had no desire to ever see her again. Afterward, I wrote a letter to the church telling them what she and the priest did. I provided as much proof and details as possible, and she lost her role in the church. But that simply was not enough for me. So I decided to remove her from my health insurance, cancel my monthly car payment for her, stop helping her with the mortgage, and for years I incurred these expenses for her simply because I felt my guilt for not living with her. I told her that she could use the money that she got from selling my daughter for her expenses. It felt good to say that, and I've been through too much with that woman to ever forgive her. This was the last straw. I needed her out of my life, and I did not care for any of her explanations, and with that, I left her in the house, and she's pretty much miserable right now, trying to make ends meet. She even begged me to take her back since she's in debt now, but I'm not listening. I went home, rested, and immediately started looking for lawyers. I was going to get full custody of my daughter no matter what. Well, I found the perfect lawyer, and we started to build a case. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of it. Ultimately, all the planning led me to face off against the priest and his wife in court. In the end, I got full custody of my daughter. As she was nearly 16, her opinion on the matter greatly influenced the outcome. She's never felt loved by them and is happy that they're not her parents. Of course, the two of us have to get to know each other, but at least we have the familiar bond. We've been slowly forming that bond, and over the past few months, we're getting most of it right. As for the priest and his wife, everything was going wrong. My mom, he, and his wife got lucky that they didn't go to jail. They did get warnings and fines, though. I felt the system did this just because of the man's reputation. While this greatly upset me, I was more than happy to find out soon, what he loved the most. Apparently, his wife decides to confront him about the affair. Their arguing got very bad in public, and she revealed his infidelity, which led him to lose his title. I believe they're now separated, but, that's a story for another day.